Hey Warriors, if you're watching this in 2024, this is some stuff that we're not going to get to in the fall of 2024 semester. I'm going to go ahead and record the videos because I'm hoping to do it in the spring of 2025. This lesson in this unit is about social psychology, and before I do get started on the unit itself, I'm going to tell you a little story about social psychology. And if you don't want to listen to the story, then just fast forward and you can start with the lesson. But first, what is social psychology? Here's the story. It's a story about the trial of Sergeant Major Gene McKinney. In 1998, a sexual harassment case involving a high-level government employee was in progress. The court-martial of Sergeant Major Gene McKinney. McKinney was the highest-ranking non-commissioned officer in the U.S. Army, had an outstanding record of military service, but 6 women who had never met one another independently accused him of making unwelcome advances toward them and threatening their careers if they refused his request for sex. If convicted of all the charges, McKinney could have served 55 years in military prison. At his trial, jurors heard about 2 very different Gene McKinneys. According to the prosecution, he was an immoral individual who used his position to exploit, threaten, and degrade women. But according to his defense attorney, Sergeant Major McKinney was a model soldier. He was a highly moral individual. He was the victim of a horrible conspiracy. The evidence against McKinney seemed overwhelming, virtually identical stories from 6 witnesses, and most of the people who followed the case assumed he would be found guilty. After 16 hours of deliberation, however, the jury found the Sergeant Major innocent of 18 of the 19 charges against him and gave him a minor punishment for the one in which he was convicted. Why had they acquitted Sergeant Major McKinney? Well, the most widely accepted explanation was that the jurors believed the women, but because they themselves were members of the military and because of the admiration of Sergeant Major McKinney and his distinguished record of military service, they were unwilling to send him to prison. Whatever the case, the outcome of the trial serves to illustrate an important psychological fact, and that is people's perceptions of the world have an enormous influence on how they think, act, and feel. The verdict of this trial, like verdicts in other trials, did not depend solely on the facts of the case or even on the truth. It depended on the jurors' thoughts and feelings about the defendant. And one famous lawyer that I hope that you've heard of in American history said, "Juries seldom convict people they like or acquit people they hate." This was Clarence Darrow. Lawyers know this, and they spend a lot of time trying to make the jury like their client, and they will spin facts to make that the truth. What does this have to do with social psychology? Well, social psychology is the study of how people influence and are influenced by other people. Social influences produce wild and various results to groups of people and personal behaviors like conformity, aggression, and altruism. This is all part of social cognition and social cognition unit, and I know that you know cognition means thinking. So social cognition refers to the way people think and act in social situations, but it's not just that. It is how other people sway our opinions, influence our opinions, our perceptions. It's concerned with impressions, but also attitudes and persuasions and attraction and love, and why we love the people that we do, why we're attracted to the people we are. And we'll be studying those perceptions, the thoughts, the feelings that affect our relationships, the people, the how, the why we do stereotypes, why we judge other people, and why we have biases. We'll focus on love and attraction, all really fun things to talk about. Social cognition and social psychology depends largely on the way we view ourselves, and that includes 2 major concepts, which are self-concept, the belief about ourselves that we hold about ourselves, the characteristics that we have, our values, and self-esteem. And self-esteem is made up of the evaluations about how worthy we are as humans. Now, a psychologist named Leon Fetstinger said that self-evaluation comes from questions that we can answer objectively. For example, how tall are you? And how do you know? Well, you know because we can measure that. But other types of questions, we can't really measure. We can't measure objectively our personal characteristics, who we are. It's up to debate sometimes who this is. Like, how good of an athlete are you? Well, how do you know? You do that by making comparisons, and that is Leon Festinger's idea. So we will compare our performances to other people. What happened the last time you took a test? Did you ask the people around you, what'd you get, what'd you get, what'd you get? Making those social comparisons allows us some criteria in which to judge ourselves. It's called social comparison theory. It's proposed by Leon Festinger in 1954. He suggested that people have an innate drive to evaluate ourselves in comparison to others, and then those people that we compare ourselves with and to are called our reference group. The reference groups are category people who we think that we belong to or that we use to compare ourselves. Now, if you're asked the question, how tall are you? Easy to answer. But if you're asked the question, how good of an athlete are you comparing yourself to LeBron James, to Tom Brady? Chances are good, no. You're comparing yourselves to the people who are nearby, who are in our district, who are at AJ or Buford or wherever they may be across the state. That's what we use. That's our reference group. When you get those tests back, what'd you get, what'd you get, what'd you get? Those are the people surrounding you. That's your reference group. Now, unfortunately, we also have downward social comparison where we compare ourselves to others who are worse off than we are. This downward comparison often leads to self-centered thinking, making ourselves feel better about our abilities and our traits. We're going to find somebody who might be worse off than we are to compare ourselves. That way we feel better about ourselves. Your performance in relationship to your reference group can affect your self-esteem. If being a good athlete is important to you, then knowing someone in your reference group that swims much faster than you can lower your self-esteem. Relative deprivation is the belief that no matter how much we're getting in terms of recognition, status, money, all the things, it's less than you deserve. So I got a big paycheck. That's because I deserve it. Well, it's one of the reasons why you don't hear me talk about my salary is because I think I do okay. Now, somebody who might complain about that is a professional athlete. I don't know if LeBron would complain about his salary because, he's got endorsements. I mean, the man will never have to work again after he retires from the NBA. Does he deserve it? Well, he's a phenomenal athlete of our time. I mean, he's one of a kind. So that's not for me to argue about. You guys can argue about that. But no matter what you make, we sometimes might think that we are relatively deprived. Yesterday, there was some Major League Baseball player that I heard is getting $700 million contract, something just ludicrous. I wonder if he would claim that he's not making what he deserves. Well, probably not. Another social influence on us is social identity theory, and these are the beliefs about the group in which we belong. So fill in the blank, I am some people answer by using characteristics like I'm a hard worker, I'm a smart person, but some people may answer the question with some type of identity group like I'm an American, I'm a female, I am a member of a community, I'm a teenager, I'm an adolescent, whatever yours, these reflect your self-identity. So social identity theory shows how we feel a part of a larger whole, whether we are a boy or girl, a Christian, Muslim, athlete, teenager, whatever it is. But this is our reference group. And it's one of the reasons why we might donate money to support financial people, things in need. I run the Red Cross group. That group is helping out with challenges, donating blood. It's a really awesome group. Before I let you go, just a recap. Social psychology studies how we think, act, and feel, and the influences of other people against us, or not against us, but within us. We use social cognition, how other people influence our thoughts, feelings, perceptions, and how we make that a part of our identity. It affects our social comparison. It affects our self-esteem. Self-esteem we gather by comparing our performances, our who we are to other people in our reference groups. More later.